Okay. Um, when I look in the mirror, I see a reflection of pain, suffering, and exploitation. Whether we like to admit it or not, Hollywood shapes how we not only see ourselves, but how we see others. We usually learn about different cultures through movies and TV shows long before we meet people that are from those respective communities. Um, so as a Black woman who enjoys entertain or movies and TV shows not only for entertainment, also but also enlightenment, I've experienced firsthand how Hollywood can influence these portrayals and how these portrayals can blur into real life situations. Hollywood profits off stereotypical portrayals of people of color while failing to represent their emotional and intellectual complexity. To create meaningful representation, the industry needs to prioritize authentic storytelling and provide greater opportunities for diverse creators. First, I'm going to explain how Hollywood's current portrayal creates harmful stereotypes, and then I'm going to explain what meaningful representation looks like and how the industry can achieve it. To begin, we have to dive into how Hollywood continues to profit from stereotypical portrayals of people of color. Representation often remains performative instead of meaningful. Iman Youssef, an editor at Britannica Encyclopedia, explained the importance of the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite. The hashtag #OscarsSoWhite gained popularity in 2015 after activist April Rain tweeted it when she noticed that all 20 nominees of the 87th Academy Awards were white actors. People online sparked a debate and started talking about the lack of representation and recognition that people of color face in Hollywood. The following year in 2016, the same thing happened. All the nominees were white actors, and it revived the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite. People kind of gave up and just admitted that no change would be made if the membership, the voting body of the Oscars were mainly white men. Nothing was going to happen. So, in response to that, the Oscar committee diversified their membership. And by 2020, their voting class was 45% women, 36% underrepresented racial and ethnic groups, and 49% international throughout 68 countries. Despite all this diversification, though, only one person was a person of color in the 2020 Oscar nominees, and that was Cynthia Erivo for her portrayal as Harriet Tubman in the movie Harriet. The whole situation just reaffirmed the longstanding trend that the Oscars only recognized Black actors if they're portraying an enslaved role or a character that fulfills racist tropes. Award recognition is not the only part of the problem, though. The stories themselves also reinforce damaging stereotypes. Hollywood frequently uses people of color as symbols and obstacles instead of fully registered people. Um, Film scholar Elaine Roth noted that Steven Soderbergh, an acclaimed American director known for directing the Ocean's 11 franchise, Traffic, and also Eric Brockovich, was employing Black men to as threats whose purpose was to support the white protagonists in his stories. Elaine Roth, and I quote, noted that the dangerous Black men functioned as villainous counterparts to the non-traditional white men in whom the films are deeply invested into. These portrayals associated whiteness with heroism and blackness with danger, and they continue to persist in Hollywood because they're familiar and profitable, despite them sacrificing authentic representation. One of the most damaging consequences of these patterns is the consistent denial of softness and vulnerability to people of color, specifically women. Um, these are seen through a lot of the stereotypes that are reinforced in Hollywood that blur into real life, that are seen in the descriptive phrases that almost everybody knows, like the aggressive, angry Black women, the feisty Latina that can be seen in like Modern Family. They're loud, fiery, over sexualized, spicy, and the smart Asian girl. Like they're usually quiet, nerdy. That's the stereotype they feed into. Hollywood frequently portrays women of color as endlessly resilient instead of allowing them to experience vulnerability, uncertainty, or softness. And this is damaging because it reinforces and upholds narratives that blur into real life. Um, Viewers are rarely shown women of color experiencing joy, doubt, tenderness, or even rest. And as a result, they don't reflect real human experiences. And this can be seen in my personal life as well. As a quiet and more reserved Black girl, people usually presume me to be very rude and inconsiderate because I'm on the more quiet side, because I don't represent what a Black girl should be according to media, which is like outspoken, um, extroverted, like boisterous, all that, and under the sun, you know. Um, when Hollywood frames strength as the defining trait of women of color, it erases their vulnerability and humanity. And this absence is not empowering in any sense. If Hollywood helps create these stereotypes, though, they have the power to change them, and they could change them through prioritizing authentic storytelling instead of profitable stereotypes. They need to create more opportunities for creators and actors of color. Melissa Batchelor Warnk, an independent journalist, argues that racial justice means providing genuine economic opportunities rather than simply talking about the theoretical chance of diversity. Her criticism of white actors continue to occupy roles written for people of color shows the not only the lack of representation but the lack of opportunity to represent. For example, Scarlett Johansson, when she played a Japanese role, she justified this by saying, and I quote, "I certainly would never presume to play another race of person." But she did exactly that. Or Jacob Elordi in the new Wuthering Heights movie as Heathcliff, when book accurate Heathcliff is characteristically a man of color, which plays an important part in the story, as Wuthering Heights' main conflict revolves around classism and how racism feeds into the said classism. Authentic representation begins by allowing people to tell their own stories. They need to be able to portray people of color as fully human. Hollywood needs to create films where people of color experience joy, make mistakes, are intelligent, vulnerable, funny, awkward, and can simply exist without their whole entire identity revolving around trauma. This solution matters because authentic representation helps everyone. It challenges stereotypes, it allows audiences to see people of color as individuals with depth, it reduces harmful assumptions that affect everyday situations, and it creates richer storytelling for all audiences. Although Hollywood has made visible changes in attempts to address inequality, meaningful representation remains truly absent when you look at the trends like hashtag Oscars so white or the representation that is performative. These movements expose how deeply systematic exclusion persists, and film analysis reveals how characters of color are still being reduced to pain, threat, and symbolism. By continuing to silence the full emotional and intellectual lives of people of color, Hollywood reinforces harmful narratives that extend far beyond the screen. And until the industry commits to telling stories of multidimensional people of color, justice remains unfinished. So I really want to urge you to look for what's being portrayed, look for whose story is being told, and who gets emotional depth, and whose humanity is being left out the next time you watch a movie. By supporting films that tell authentic, multidimensional stories and, you know, stories that just have layered characters towards people of color, um, we can encourage Hollywood to value people of color as not just a symbol of pain, but also humanity. So yeah, thank you.